like land and expand. That's the feedback. And we've seen that working plenty of times, other places. It's just good reminding ourselves.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So now I have the pleasure to introduce Marta Martinez, the managing director for the United States.
All right. So my name is Marta Martinez, and by my accent, you will see that I am Spanish. So we could do this in Portuñol, but I don't trust myself. So we're going to do something. I also speak English with a very weird Spanish Catalan accent. So if you don't understand me, do the same that we were doing with Paul, and I will try to shift it or speak slower, because you know Spanish people speak really, really fast, and the same applies to when they speak another language. So there we go. Well, my role at Google is leading the Google Marketing Platform business for the Americas. What that means is my team is responsible for creating the foundational technology that all of your agencies, I think all of your agencies use to do their day-to-day business. Now, the good news, and what I'm here to tell you, is that even though we are dealing with a ton of transformation, and obviously all of the work that Paul was leaning into as a transformation is a challenging one, you can start leaning into these foundational technologies that we've built for you at Google, and then build your capabilities on top of it. Because the way we go to market is by embedding all of this AI innovation to make it very accessible to you and your teams, so that you can build all of these new services and capabilities around. Now, in my team, we've been using these, we always feel like it's easier when we're talking about change. It's always easier to see how the change is happening somewhere else than in your home. And so we've been using this example of what's going on in the world of Formula One. First of all, because it's really fun. But second, because Formula One tends to be the innovation ground for the entire automotive industry. I think that sometimes we don't realize, but there are simple things like the rear view mirrors or back engines that were first tested and used in Formula One, and only then were scaled to the rest of the automotive industry. Think about the example of precision and teamwork that it is when you see a Formula One race and all of the team comes to change the tires in that pit stop. They do that in 1.8 seconds. 10 years ago, that was 6 seconds. And if you go, I remember playing a video once where that was more than a minute. Like, imagine the amount of innovation from the process, from the product and technology perspective that needs to go for us to be able to do that. So you will see me make some reference. We also had a really fun, like if you have any Formula One followers here, do you guys watch any of it on TV? Now it's very famous. Well, so for many years, there's been only one or two teams that have been winning, and it got boring. I mean, I love Max Verstappen, but because of technology, that is starting to change, and you see a lot more different cars, different teams really taking the lead. I think it's a phenomenal parallel for what we are experiencing in our industry. And now, it's true that the competition is really tough in the agency side, because I think that it's like if you're driving this race and they're changing the track every lap. Every lap you make, the track is different. Macroeconomic conditions make it super hard for you to understand, what decisions marketers are going to do, and they have to react really, really fast. If you talk to your teams, or we talk to marketers and think about how they were leveraging AI capabilities 6 months ago now, I mean, it's so different. It's moving so fast. So we feel like, thinking about this concept of how do we accelerate and how do you prepare and put the right foundations to accelerate is one that can help us. And it's all happening because of these shifts. I think we've talked about it. So I'm going to go, I think you'll see a lot of consistency here. But obviously, consumer behavior has changed. I mean, the searching, scrolling, streaming, and shopping that Paul was mentioning is something that consumers do simultaneously across multiple devices and 10 times more than they used to do in the past. Now, What that means is that they generate exponential amount of data that we can use to better understand consumer behavior and to better understand the ROI of the marketing programs that we put in there. Obviously, AI used to be a buzzword 6 months or a year ago. It's no longer a buzzword. This thing is real. You've seen it. And we've seen that consumers are adopting it probably faster than the business are adopting it. So that presents a phenomenal opportunity for all of you in this room. And then, of course, we have a broader set of competitors. I think a few years ago, you wouldn't be competing with system integrators or even management consultants. Every time there is such a tectonic change in the industry, it provides opportunity for new entrants to come. So regardless of whether you are an indie or whether you are a holding company, the rules of the game are really changing. And that's a great moment for us to change everything. And so how do we start? I mean, where do we start? We're all starting to do multiple things. But what I wanted to at least settle with you is starting with having the strong ad tech foundation can really help you accelerate the innovation in the top. There are some of the foundational things that you don't need to worry about, that we will work on. This is our job. Like, how can we get all of the foundational pieces ready for you so that you can create differentiation on top of Google Marketing Platform and Google Cloud capabilities. Now, let's talk about this ad tech foundation a little bit. I think you are all, how familiar are you from, let's see how I can ask this question. Are you all familiar with the Google Marketing Platform? Okay, so we're gonna do this very quickly, but taking into the Formula One example, I think about this platform as the engine. I mean, it's the engine for the Formula One car. And it's an engine that will allow you to build the car you want. I mean, you can build cars very differently, but what we're doing is we're creating a baseline that is integrated with CRM, cloud partners, content partners. So if you think about marketing technology, it's much broader than what we tend to do every day. And when we narrow it to media buying, media planning, and measurement, that's the core that we want to give to you ready to use. Now, it's a core you'll see that is fully integrated into the entire marketing stack, but we want to make it very easy for you to be able to plug and play the different pieces so you don't have to. Now, when selecting media buying platforms, you probably, and our marketers always are asking us for, like, how do we get the most reach across the most possible formats? And so in GMP, you have on the one side, Search at 360 that starts with search, and then you have DV 360 that starts with video, scrolling, and all of the other capabilities, display. And so when you think about the entire consumer behavior changes, and when you think about these searching, scrolling, there are truly not many platforms out there that can bring them all together so that you can optimize for reach across all of these behaviors in one place. And this is why we keep continuing to invest on how do we think about what additional behaviors, what additional media we can bring into the conversation, into these capabilities, so that you can focus on what else can we build and what are these new services that will allow us to go. I really love this poll when you go from a service company enabled by technology to a technology company that is powered by services. Like, it's a very nuanced but very, very important shift. And so I think you all know, like, when you work with TV3, the work. I was actually with the Disney and Netflix guys yesterday here at a customer event. And I think that what we're all trying to do together is figure out how do we help a marketer think holistically about the consumer journey in a world where the traditional funnel no longer works, in a world where they are continuously moving from one behavior to the other, from one publisher to the other, and how they bring it together. Yesterday, we were talking about live sports, CTV, and programmatic. I think are three things that are very fast, well, I think especially for you that just housed the first NFL game of the season in Brazil. But all of these things are coming together very, very fast, right? And I always say, good marketing doesn't end with good measurement. It starts with it. And this is why at GMP, we brought together the measurement component and all of the measurement platforms together with the media buying platforms. I think you're all familiar with Campaign Manager and what you can do not only to track all of the media, but there's very few places where you can bring absolutely all of the media that your customers will be buying, including Meta, Amazon, Trade Desk, TikTok. All of them are available for you to bring together so that you get an understanding of cross-media performance. And then on the other side, you have Google Analytics, which I know has been traditionally, and for somebody who started her career in the agency world, I will tell you, not a tool that we used to lean in very heavily. But Google Analytics is becoming, for marketers, the easiest way to integrate all of the different data sets. Google Analytics now is absolutely cross-media, so they can bring what they do in the app, what they do on the web, what they do on CTV, what they do across all of the different places. And the new model has made it very easy to integrate all of the CRM data and all of the other third-party components. So we're seeing marketers really bringing these 4 pieces. I think I have a slide with the 4 pieces. Bringing the 4 pieces together to just make them easier to make sense of all of it. Now, all right, one last piece. And obviously, this doesn't exist in isolation. When we build these platforms, we build them with an open ecosystem and integration at the center. So all of this technology has all of the APIs you can imagine to integrate with, of course, with cloud, but with Salesforce, with all of these other measurement companies that are the third parties that our customers work with, so that we can have everything in one roof. Now, I'm only telling you all of this because I always tell my team, our job is to build the best racing car so that you guys can build the best team and you can hire the best pilots, if we think about it from the Formula One perspective. The racing car is pretty modular. I mean, you can put different tires, you can put a lot of different things, and that's a lot of what Paul helped us start to think about. Now, when you have to start from the beginning, it becomes more complex. But when you already have, like with GMP, you have access and you have all of the data. Remember, the most difficult thing for AIs is to get access to the data. There's no good AI implementations without good data. And you have a throw of it in this technology platform. So let's shift gears and think about, how do we build the right crews? You in the agencies are in the driver's seat. You saw it. Paul told you, right? I love this work that we did with BCG, because the fact that it's becoming clear that the capabilities of agencies are ahead of the advertisers, I think will help marketers understand where do they go for help and what is the opportunity for you. And so look at this number. I think that this was one of the stalwarts from Paul's session. 74% of companies struggle to move beyond an AI proof of concept. This is exactly what Paul was talking about. The business value isn't understood. The ROI doesn't account for the cost of sale. The data and tech governance is complex, and there is no clear plan of adoption. This is also part of that result. And what that tells us is advertisers are moving, but they're feeling a little bit lost. They are experimenting, but they need better playbooks for them to be able to scale all of the different opportunities that they have. And if they're lost, and only 45% of them know to go to their agency, it truly is a phenomenal opportunity for all of you in this room. Right? The truth is, we believe that you will be leading the AI transformation starting now in the next 3 years, when you start to build this in an exponential way. You have the expertise. You will probably have to, figure out how we work differently. And you have with us at Google a multiple groups of people that will work with you to figure out what we can try on going forward. Now, let me walk you through some of the different pieces that we are starting to see in the market. And I'm going to go through all of them because this clicking is a little bit confusing sometimes. So you have it all here. It is about operational excellence, measurement excellence, partnership excellence. So how do we bring more companies and more capabilities into the field? And obviously creative excellence, which is where I think you all have seen the most accelerated change as we start to move through all of these transformation. And so these are the capabilities that you can start to structure so that you can continue to take, so you can take on the AI leadership that is very clear that belongs into the specialists in the industry that really can hone into new capabilities. So this is what we're learning from, and this is also from the BCG study. This is what we're learning from the agencies who are winning in AI. They jointly invest in pilots. They force strategic tech partnerships. They don't try to do it alone. They really build the teams that will help them create all of that opportunity. And they provide ROI projections and efficiency. I think this also speaks to the more specific the use case, which is what we were talking in the, I think one of you was saying that as one of the actions for the last session is like the more specific the use case, the more that you'll be able to win. Look at the results. Like it's becoming clear that there are some practices and the way in which we deploy AI capabilities on top of this stack that are really working better than others. And I just wanted to, and if you look at it in an aggregated basis, this means that in 3 years, if we now are at 40% is the total of, let's say, data and tech services that the aggregate of the agency world is providing to market, in less than 3 years, this number is going to be close to 50%. To me, that is exactly what Paul was talking about when he was saying we are transforming from a service company powered by tech to a tech company served by product. Now you're a tech company that is powered by product and technology. Okay. We'll also mention some monetization cases that are already there. I think you're all familiar with them, but I'm going to share with you what the key models are, the key business models are, because they might be different than the FTE models that we have, and they might start to look a little bit more like the models of technology companies. So 84% of the cases that we see succeed are data licensing of AI models. So there's a model, the agency, the partner licenses that model for a recurrent licensing fee, the same way that we license the Google Marketing Platform to all of you. There is licenses for proprietary AI tools. So now you would be the one building a specific model, pencil, and you are licensing the use of that model for your customers. And the third one is providing software as a service. Now, this might seem a little bit different from the work we've all been doing together for the last few years. And yet this is truly the direction in which marketers are asking that their media partners continue to evolve. And these are things that we can do. Paul talked about organizational change. It really is different, but I think these are a lot of things that we can do and we can experiment with working together. Here's some examples. Data licensing of AI models. I think you all saw that Publicis, who do we have from Publicis here? Yeah, Core AI. They actually also recently acquired a company that I love, Lotami, to determine how they can use and how they expand their ID spine outside of the US, which is where Epsilon has the biggest footprint. That's something that you're going to start to see. That is a very good example of data licensing of an AI model. Licenses for proprietary AI tools. This is where you have, are you familiar with Huge? You know, they have done very significant work on sentiment analysis and making that so easy. Gathering all of these, you know, you now have the ability to gather a lot more data sets to make sentiment analysis much faster. And this is one of the licenses. They've built a tool, they license the tool, is their own model. And then of course you have the software as a service. We've talked enough about Pencil, but I think that Pencil has been able to bring to life something that seemed very esoteric in the industry and make it very real. You know, they call it Pencil because Pencil is the first creative tool that the creative people would use. And so they did it because they wanted to give the creatives, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I talked to, you know, some of your folks a lot in the US. They did it because they didn't want to give the impression that AI was going to do all of the work for them. They wanted to give the creatives the impression that they were giving them another pencil so that they could make their creative canvas and their tools much better and much richer. I think that that's a much, you know, it's a very good approach to really introduce these new models in a way that they don't feel like disruptive and different, but they feel very additive, even though obviously they will require that creative people work very differently. Okay. So I show you some cases. I think Paul showed you some other cases. I think these are impressive. Sometimes I remember when these companies, when all of you start developing these cases at the beginning, you probably feel very alone because there's nothing like it in the market. It's almost like you're at a startup and you're building something and you don't know if there's going to be product market fit. So I think it's very impressive that so early into the game, we're 2 years into this game, we already have some capabilities that seem to be so established and so well known in the industry. I can only think where we take this in the next year. Because if this has been the beginning, think about what we can do continuing at this rhythm of change. And if I could think of a market that knows how to take experimentation to the next level, to me, that's Brazil. Just go to the Cannes Advertising Festival every year. There are a couple of winners from Brazil. And I think it's easier. You guys are, you know, as a community, a lot more bold and a lot less afraid to try new things. And from the regulation perspective, you have an advantage, which is media and creative never really got separated in Brazil. In the rest of the world, we're not bringing them together. That's a lot of work. In Brazil, that never really happened to the extent that it happened in the big European markets or in the US. All right, so see, I really went crazy because Max Verstappen really won last weekend for the first time in many, many weekends. I mean, he must have been so happy, and in Italy, I mean, that's pretty cool. But it is Team McLaren who's rewriting the rules. And they are rewriting the rules because they have strong tech partnerships, because they really think out of the box, and because they're taking shortcuts that others didn't want to take. So with that, I'm going to give you a summary. Own and become the masters of this tech foundation that we are building for you. If there are holes, if there are pieces that you want to continue to lean into, we are here to help. Your team in Brazil, led by Jan, will do everything that we need to do to get you and to get that foundation really strong, so that you have all of the data integrated, that you have all of the ingredients that you need to really do those capabilities. And then start developing those this next generation offerings that I think will turn you, or will turn the model into what this group of companies, of marketing services companies, will become, which, I don't know, based on what we see in the US, might look very, very different from what the traditional agency holding company model looked in 10 or 15 years ago, right? It's starting to shift. I realize in other markets, it feels different, but in the US, with Publicis winning a lot, and IPG and Omnicom coming together, it looks quite different, and a lot, of course, of newcomers. I think it's an exciting time. I can't wait to do and to continue to do more work with you. And let's take the lead because I think the opportunity is yours. Thank you. Do we have questions? He's gonna have questions. What? What's the what? I love these. I love these. And the music is so hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. So before we get to this, I think it's time for a lunch break, right? Yes. So let's do a lunch break. It's all the way at the other side of the building, a place called Grand True. And if you could all be back here at 12:55, so 5 minutes before the hour. That's a nice. All right, enjoy it. See you later.